friends, Jessie here. Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. For today's video, I'm going to be going over everything I spent in the first week of July, with the exception of what we spent on vacation. We were on vacation this week, camping. I filmed a separate video talking about everything we spent on that vacation, so you can check that video out if you are interested. That did fall during this first week of July, so that's not going to be included here. This is going to be all of the other spending, all the bills we paid for this week, any spending we did in our variable categories. The dates we are tracking for are July 2nd through the 8th, and we don't have a lot of transactions, so I'm going to, in this same video, go ahead and do my weekly check-in. So we're going to combine those things. We're going to try to get this done as quick as possible so it's not a super lengthy video. So let's talk about everything we spent, starting with the 2nd of July. We paid some bills this day. So we had our storage unit come out on this day. The category for this is bills. I like to separate my spending into categories just so I can see, how much money is going towards bills versus groceries versus whatever else. So that was $92.70 for that. Also on the 2nd, I paid our lot rent. We own our mobile home, but we rent the lot, and also lumped in with this bill is our water bill for the month, and we have a package deal for our cable and internet through our mobile home community, so that's lumped in here as well. So for those three things, lot rent, water, and our cable, we paid a total of $732.48. Okay, also on the 2nd, we paid Hulu. Now, Hulu is one of the bills that come out automatically. I have a separate category for all of our auto pay things, all of our subscription services, memberships, that sort of thing comes out of the auto pay category, and that was $17.99. Okay, on the 2nd, my husband ran to Speedway. I'm assuming he bought a tea or a bottle of water or something like that. I don't know for sure. I'm going to take it out of our spending category. And the amount was $2.69. On the 2nd, I went and did our grocery shopping for the week. Now, as I mentioned, we did go on vacation for a lot of this week. We were gone from the 4th until the 7th. So the groceries that I needed were just for at home. We did a separate grocery trip and took that out of our vacation budget, which you would have seen if you watched that video that I mentioned. So this grocery trip, we didn't need a lot. I needed to make sure to get some things for the house because Robbie didn't go on the camping trip with us. He was working, so he stayed home. So he needed some things, and we needed some pet items. This was a very small grocery trip. The category here is grocery, which covers all of our food items plus household items and pet items. The amount I spent was $53.81, so pretty small trip. All right, on the 3rd, Austin came to our office and cut the grass for us, and so I took him after that out to lunch at a little local diner, and so that came out of our eating out budget. We are actively trying to eat out less. But we did go out to eat this day, and we spent $29.86 for the two of us to have, I guess it was brunch, and to tip my waitress. On the 4th, oops, I skipped a transaction. On the 3rd, my husband went to the pharmacy to pick up a prescription. and the amount came out of spending. Still have not gotten my sinking funds kind of set and situated. I've been putting money into our sinking funds account, so we have money set aside for sinking funds, but I haven't allocated it. Like if we had, you know, $400 in there, I don't know how much of that $400 is for medical expenses, how much is for all of our various categories, I guess, of sinking funds. So I need to do that. Until I do, I've just been putting stuff like this into our monthly budget. So I took it out of spending. For the copay, it was $19.19. Okay. On the 4th, I paid our DTE bill. And so that is categorized as bills. And it was $224.11. Okay. On the 5th, my golf cart payment came out. I actually made it earlier than that, but it took a couple of days to clear my account. So it showed up on my credit card thing as the 5th. If you're not familiar with how I do my budget, we put everything on a city credit card, and then we pay that off each week. And that's how I kind of keep track of my transactions. If I pay cash or I use a debit card, then I'll keep the receipts and keep track of them that way. Otherwise, I just look at my credit card statement to figure out what the transaction was and when it happened, and then I categorize it this way. And then, by the way, we use a city card, pay for everything, and then at the end of the year, we use all of our rewards to help us fund our Christmas fund. So it's a really great way if you can be responsible with the credit card and make sure you pay it off each week. We do have credit card debt, so clearly we haven't always been responsible, but we are trying, and it's just how we do things. You can do things any way you want. I always say it, personal finance is personal. Make your personal decisions. And don't be afraid to change your mind or change things up if what you're doing isn't working. This is working for us for now. Anyways, golf cart payment. $150, and the category is bills. And actually, you know, I did that big long spiel about putting everything on a credit card, and this golf cart payment was actually not on a credit card. You can't pay debt with a credit card, so I must have just gone in on the 5th and paid this. Anyways, the little tangent I went on still applies, just not to this specific bill. All right, let's keep moving. On the 6th, I had a YouTube membership come out. This is one of those auto pay items. And it was $4.99. And then I had a bunch of, or a few, I guess, auto pay things on the 8th. So I had my Weight Watchers membership, which those of you that have been asking about how my weight loss is going, it isn't. I think you probably could guess that, judging by the fact that I haven't been updating. I need to get back on the wagon for sure. That was $11. Also on the 8th, we had my husband's Audible subscription come out. It's also auto pay, and that was $16.95. And then last but not least, on the 8th, my husband went to the pharmacy to pick up some Sudafed. We've all been suffering with allergies and summer colds. So this came out of spending, and the amount was $5.88. All right, so now all we have to do is go down the line and add things up. I'm going to use a few different color highlighters for this. I need one for bills, one for auto pay, one for spending, one for grocery, and one for eating out. I think that's everything. So we'll start with bills. And I'm just gonna go down the line, highlighting as I go and adding things up. So we had $92.70 plus $732.48 plus $224.11 plus $150 for a total in bills of $1,199.29. All right. Next up, we will do auto pay. And we'll use this light purple color for auto pay. So we'll add $17.99 plus $4.99 plus $11 plus $16.95 for a grand total in auto pay of $50.93. Okay. Next, we will do spending. For spending, I'll use green. So we had $269 plus $19.19 plus $588 for a total of $27.76. Okie dokie. For grocery, we had just the one transaction at $53.81. I don't know if you can tell, but we've definitely been trying to spend less overall. And outside of our vacation, where we overspent, unfortunately, we've been doing a pretty good job, I think. I know it's only been a few days, right? Like, I'm not trying to give myself more credit than is due. We're only, you know, tracking up to day 8 of the month, but, you know, so far so good. Eating out, $29.86. So let's get a quick total. I'm going to total everything up all together, and then I'm also going to get a total of just our variable categories. So all together, outside of our vacation spending, we spent $1,361.65. And then just for our variable categories, which are auto pay, spending, grocery, and eating out, it was a really low spend week for us. Helps that we were not in town for more than half the week. We spent $162.36. So not too shabby. Overall, I'm pretty satisfied with this. So what I'm gonna do now is use this expense tracker to fill in my hybrid budget. If you have never seen my budget, the way I do things, I have a 2-page hybrid budget worksheet here that I use to keep track of pretty much everything for the month. There is an overall monthly section here where I can write my budget for the month. There are little spots here to check in each week with my variable spending, so that I can keep track of how much I've spent and what I have remaining in those variable categories. My bills and stuff are just like one-time transactions, so I just need a budgeted and an actual column for those things because they just come out once. But for groceries, for example, I keep track week to week of what I've spent on groceries, and then at the end of the month I get a total to fill in my actual column here. There's a section for savings, so I can keep track of anything I'm putting into a savings account. There's a section here for sinking funds, which I need to use this month and actually figure out what I'm doing with that money I've set aside for sinking funds. So if you want to see a video on that, let me know. And then there's a section here for debt payments. I do make extra debt payments every single month. I'm actively working on paying off my debt. I don't fill this in though here in a video. I film my debt updates with my channel members. So if you're interested in how much debt I have, what I'm doing to pay that debt off, where I am in that journey, you can join my channel membership. Links are down below. You also can get access to these printable budget worksheets by joining my channel membership at certain tiers or on Etsy. So all of the links for everything will be down below. So I am going to be filling in some of the actual columns here in my monthly section, and I'm going to be filling in week 1 with you guys. So let me zoom in, and I am going to be using all of the information I just wrote down on that expense tracker. So starting with the bills in blue here, all of these are one-time transactions that I can just go ahead and track in my actual column here. So for example, lot rent, I budgeted $800. You can see that got paid this week, and I paid $732.48. So that is what I will put in the actual column, $732.48. Okay, for storage, I paid $92.70. So I budgeted $100, it only came out at $92.70. In case you can't tell, I always like to estimate high my budgeted amounts. That way when they actually come out, they're a little bit lower, and that helps build a little bit of wiggle room in my budget, so that if I go a little bit over budget in groceries, for example, I have a little bit of wiggle room with what's left over from these bills that got paid. DTE got paid this week. I paid $224.11. You can see I budgeted $225. And lastly, my golf cart payment of $150, which came out just at what I expected. So there's still quite a few bills on my budget here that have not been paid yet. They will get paid in subsequent weeks. For now, that's all I can fill in here, so we can work on this weekly section. So I always like to put the dates in for the week, which were 7/2 through 7/8. And then I just write in my variable categories, which are grocery, eating out, spending, and auto pay. Now, auto pay is not actually variable. I lump auto pay in here with these other variable categories because this is something that I keep track of week to week, and then I fill in a total in the actual column at the end of the month. And I do that just for the sake of not having to write out every single individual category here in my monthly section. Like there would be Hulu, Netflix, YouTube, there would be like 20 little transactions that I'd have to list out here. It's easier for me to just keep track of them week to week and then have them all lumped together in one line item in my budget, which you see here. I budgeted $300. So rather than $300 in little $10 to $12 transactions written out, I just lump them all together. It's just the way I do it. All right, now it's as easy as taking the amount I spent, which we already got a total for each of these categories when we did the expense tracking, and transferring it here. So for groceries, we spent $53.81. For eating out, $29.86. For spending, $27.76. And for auto pay, $50.93. And then what I like to do is take the overall monthly budget, subtract out what I've spent, and figure out what I have remaining for the rest of the month. So let's do it. For groceries for the month, I budgeted $1,200. You can see right here, grocery, $1,200. And this week I spent $53.81, which means I still have a ton of money remaining, $1,146.19 remaining. And there are 3 full weeks left in July. For me, July is 4 weeks based on when I am paid. And if I flip back here to this monthly calendar, I can show you. We are paid every single Tuesday. So I started my July budget on the first Tuesday of the month, which is the second here. So you can see 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And then this paycheck that I get on the last day of July will begin my August budget, because most of the days in this week are in August. So I will use the paycheck I receive on the 30th to help me fund the first week of August. So we only had 4 weeks we needed to get through in July. One of them is already behind us. So 3 weeks left. So I like to take that amount that I have remaining and just divide it by however many weeks are left so I can get a feel for how much I can spend each of those weeks and still come in under budget. So I could spend $382.06 each week for the next 3 weeks and still come in under budget, which is great. That is a very, very reasonable amount to spend in a week for groceries. Okay, for eating out, our budget overall, I lowered a lot this month. You can see down here, I only budgeted $200 for the whole month, which is going to be very difficult for us. We tend to eat out a lot. We are making strides to eat out less. I really, really challenged myself with a lower eating out budget. I know not everyone thinks that $200 is a small amount of money for eating out. It's relative, right? But when we regularly spend twice that or more, that's pretty tough. We basically slashed our budget in half this month. But we're gonna see how it goes. This week I spent $29.86, which leaves me with $170.14 in our eating out budget. If I divide that by the 3 weeks that are left, it's about $56 a week. So if I continue to eat out about the same amount that I did in week 1, we'll be fine. If we go nuts and order $75 worth of pizza or something, maybe we won't. We'll see. It's still very early in the month. It's hard to tell how things are going to go overall, but at least for week 1, we reined in the spending. We stuck with what we should have stuck with, so it's a good start. For spending, we budgeted $500. We only spent $27.76, which means we still have $472.24 remaining. And if we divide that by 3, that's $157 a week for the next 3 weeks, which seems reasonable. So we're in good shape there. And then lastly, for auto pay, we had $300. Of that $300, we spent $50.93, and that leaves me with $249.07. Now, unlike these other categories, I don't really need to figure out how much per week that is because the bills are all kind of sporadic. They're not spread out evenly for each week. So as long as at the end of the month we have something remaining, means we came in under budget, and that is a win. So that's it then. I'm just going to get a total. So we already know I did this when I did my expense tracker, that for variable spending total, we spent $162.36. I'm just going to double check that by plugging these numbers in again because I'm notorious for making math mistakes and typing things into my calculator wrong, so 162.36 is accurate. Just double checked that math there. And in terms of what's remaining, I like to get a total of what's remaining, because if I'm over budget in one category but I'm under budget in another and it evens out, I'm okay with that. I don't get too bent out of shape as long as I come in over budget or under budget overall. We still have $2,037.64 in variable spending, and for the next 3 weeks we can spend $679 in total and still come in under budget. It was a very, very low spend week this first week on paper because we were camping. And if you look here at my camping trip budget, we were over budget in camping. So it's really not as pretty of a picture as it seems here. You have to look at the overall budget to kind of get a feel for how we're doing. But still, I feel like for the first week, we're not in too rough shape. We'll have to see how the rest of the weeks go, but not too shabby of a start. That's it, friends. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.